How y'all doing? All right. Wow. My village is pretty unique. My father came from West Virginia. He grew up in the ghetto. I remember him telling me the story that growing up, he remember the first time he took a bath in running water. He was raised by foster parents. My mother was raised in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania by very two strict, straight-laced African-American, my grandparents. My grandfather was a Tuskegee Airman. My grandmother was a truancy officer, the head of the 4-H club, the head of the China club. She was the head of everything that you can think of, and she was the spearhead in my childhood. I remember her funeral. I mean, you would have thought a president had passed away. There were so many people at this funeral. And for years after her passing, I remember getting letters. We got letters from, she wrote people from China, Uruguay, anyway. But remember when the pen pals? I don't know if y'all are old enough to know pen pals. But as her 4-H girls had pen pals, she would write all the 4-H girls pen pals. I mean, for years on end. So I had to continue writing people letters to tell her that she had passed away. But that just goes to show you my village and where I came from. My parents, my extended family, there were just so many people. I was blessed to have so many people within my life that cared about me and that loved me and showed me love. And I really think that's so important. Actually, I went to a Knicks game 3 days ago. Actually, right before the whole Felton mess happened. I was at that game that night. But I was there with my middle school health teacher. Her name is Mrs. Wright, and we're still friends to this day. She was Mama Wright to so many people. But she is part of the village. She's like another mother that raised me. They were honoring her for all her community efforts and work during a halftime of the game. She now sits on the Board of Education in New Jersey, where I grew up. I grew up in South Carolina. But that sense of community, I think, has been destroyed within the African American community. Because now it's like if somebody's scolding or talking to somebody else's child, why are you talking to my baby? The sense of community, the sense of responsibility for the community, I think, has disappeared. And a lot of people are afraid to step up, are afraid to say something. Like you see a little black kid acting up, who's gonna say something? Y'all gonna say something?
I do.
Raise your hand if you say something.
I do.
You really gonna say something? I don't care.
Yeah, you really gonna say something.
I mean, because I think that's part of what has happened within the community, that we have become afraid to take responsibility for our irresponsibility. We have kids, raising kids, and it's time for us to go back, look back at what used to be, and reenact that. And I'll stop right here, but I remember on South Orange Avenue, vivid memory, I went to school in North New Jersey, but I remember driving with my grandmother up South Orange Avenue, and I swear before the Lord, there was a fight on the corner, and my grandmother stopped the car. And I was probably 10 years old. And I'm like, I literally broke into prayer, like we're about to die. And my grandmother got out the car and broke up the fight. And said to both of them, you represent us. What are you doing? I remember it like it was yesterday. She was the one that would take the pig out of somebody's head at the movie theater and would say the same thing. Everybody needs to understand that and live that again. Each one of us represent our ancestors. We represent everybody that Kevin spoke about. What does that mean to you, and how are you walking in it on a daily basis?